think we're live. Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of TacoBytes, your daily bite of Degen. Episode number 471. I think I might have too many windows open. Have you ever had that moment when that happens and you're like, I just don't know what to do because there's not enough space on your board anymore for any more tabs, and that's all you have going on? I feel like that's one of these moments right now. And yeah. We started off last night on a journey with Titan X and sort of seeing what that looked like if we were playing that out. And we're going to break that down a little bit more tonight. Why are we breaking that down? Because there's a lot of degenomics there that to one aspect seems really good. Like this is one of those things, one of those projects where you're like, yeah, I can get behind this. But then at the same time, we want to make sure that, we've already done work on contract and making sure it's safe at a security side of things. And we've already gone through every other piece to make sure that, funds are safe. But then at the same time, now how do we go through the tokenomics of it so that it continuously still works for not just us, but for the next people? One of the things that really sucks with projects like this is people find those loops, for flash loans or other things like that strip and take out that perpetual motion machine just so that they can take theirs. And we see that in a ton of different things. I've seen that happen. I went through the history of elephant money, which it's been around for a few years, and it's made a lot of different people money. And then through two different flash loan attacks where someone just wanted to get theirs, and that broke the machine. And so then it became basically an exit liquidity platform for those that were there. To any new people coming on, it just became exit liquidity for people to get out of it. And so it's sad to see sort of projects like this happen. But when we find new ones, there's the fear of, do I tell anyone about it? Because what if the wrong person hears about this and they go try to figure out a vector of attack on it? And what does that look like? And so one of the things that we did yesterday to be exact, is we went through tokenomics of what a 14-day cycle would look like. And then we did tokenomics on what an 28-day cycle would look like. One of the things we figured out with our formula was a little bit difference in, the profit and remine, split. It's not a hard 50-25 split, but it takes up 75% of the profits. And so by taking up 75% of the profits, you're having money that you can take off the table, that you can take home, you can pay bills with. And the money that you're putting back in to remine, you're going to go exponentially with it. So you can try to get bigger. And so this is one of those things to where this is how I see this. And what I would love for you to do is to join us either on stage, or in the video, so you can follow along, because we're sharing our screen. We're going through the classic, let's break this down in a spreadsheet and find out these degenomics. Because this protocol, we've already had some success with this protocol. We're getting ready to go on our second cycle right now, where we've basically have turned, let's just say $45 into 5x, and then we turned another $45 into another 5x. So now's the opportunity to go big or go home. Do we see these degenomics continuously working because of the different buy and burn features between the compounding and the individual people having to put in their own funds to trigger the buy and burn? And that's like the auto compounding that's done in PancakeSwap, rather than PancakeSwap paying the fee to auto compound, there is anyone can trigger the auto compound that pays that fee to burn, and they get a user reward. And so there's different parts of it in this just like that. And so we made a lot cleaner of a spreadsheet. We're starting over again tonight. Now that we know how this spreadsheet can look at, we want to sort of do a little bit of a cleaner piece and start from zero on that, because we want you to sort of see our walkthrough on this. I want to know from you where I'm wrong, and I want to know where you think I might be right. But the big piece on this is this something that continuously is a long-term effect of growth, as we've seen the Titan token start to really take off, especially now with woohoo, ETH is now over $2,200 and Bitcoin is now over $40,000. So we're starting to see these markets start to take off, as everyone is getting ready for Monday, is this going to be something that continues? Or is this something that, is just the start of something that people aren't ready for? And so as you can see within our spreadsheet, we've broken out some different possibilities and stuff like that, both on the miner starting ETH point, because this is something that basically anyone can sort of start at, and at that miner power of 1, it's $5. Right now, $5 at 14 days almost triples your money. It turns into $14.91. That won't cover gas fees on both sides. The minting, which is, maybe around $14, $10 more if gas is higher. And then same on the claim side. When I created it, I think when I created my first miner, it was right around $12 in gas. And when I claimed, it was right around $5 in gas. So gas takes a lot in it. And so I really want to see some extra pieces move through this, and I want to know what you think. And so we're just going to take a quick second. I want to thank everyone for joining us via YouTube, Twitch, Telegram, LinkedIn, Rumble, and Unlonely, as well as those that are joining us on stage on Twitter. And if you're on stage on Twitter, please feel free to put that hand up. Come join me on stage. We have the video going on in the Jumbotron, so you can follow along. But would love to hear your thoughts too, because right now I'm making basic math on just what a miner turnaround looks like. And I'm not even looking yet at ETH payouts on the cycles of the 8, 28, 90, and 888 look like, or the buy and burn piece. We're going to add that in. I'm hoping to add that in. And so I want to sort of walk through this so you guys can sort of see how I see this and see if this is how you see it too. And if I'm off, please let me know. But this is what I sort of think and what I'm starting at here. So obviously I started this yesterday. We're no longer December 2nd. We are now on December 3rd. So we're going to sort of see what this looks like. The two things that I'm going to be keeping here is I'm going to be keeping a miner power of 10, and I'm going to do a 14-day cycle. And so this is going to be what we have here. The reason why I'm putting in these numbers and separating value pieces is because eventually I'm going to put formulas into these cells so that anyone can look at this document, plug in their own numbers, and see how that goes. And so as we can see, there's, Jake has done some cool updates. If you've noticed, the burn bonus amplifier has been added in as well. That's been there for about, I think, a week and a half now. But it hasn't come into effect yet, and so it's supposed to be up soon, from what I hear. And so, hopefully, we've talked with Jake a little bit here and there in the back channels. Hopefully, we'll have him on the show in the next couple weeks to sort of see, what what you're claiming for Christmas, but sort of good to see ETH over 2,200. Bitcoin is now over 40,100. And Sol is up over 63.53. So green all around today. I hope you're having a green day as well. But we're going to hop right into this. And so we do have, oh, hold on. Let's talk. We got adding to stage with us, David. David, how are you doing today, man?
Hey, pal, I'm doing good. How are you?
Man, I am doing really well. It is a good day.
Um,
Are you out and about today?
I am out and about. Unfortunately, my Wi-Fi in my house wasn't working, so I decided to go hang out and go shopping with my wife. So she's in shopping, so I'm on the phone with you. Um, and I so figured I'd talk to you about this, and we'll talk through a few of these questions that you got, that you're kind of looking at in regards to this, and see if maybe we can, go through the thought process on some of this stuff.
Yeah, and so like me, you've been around for a couple of these degenomic protocols to where
Yeah.
money printers, you're just like, that doesn't add up, but it works. Why does it work? And what's going to break the machine, or what can this machine actually do if you stick to it, create a pattern and you stick to it,
Well, and so let me ask a few questions on the patterns, right? And what's working. So, first of all, your payout is in what?
Payout is in token, which is
Okay,
paired to ETH.
platform token, right? Platform
Yep.
token that's paired by ETH. Okay. So, first thing to look at is obviously any platform like this that's mining, the platform token is inflationary at
Yep.
first, right? Because the more people who enter it, the more people who are receiving it, creates an inflationary event. A lot of times your ROI is actually representative of kind of the inflation rate, right?
Yep.
So what you have to look for, what we have to look for is whether or not there's a burn function, like you're saying earlier, that utilizes the token supply, so that way there's some reason for utilization of that token, because otherwise it just stays inflationary, and then that means if it's continuously inflationary, your rewards will continue to go down. So, for example, I'm into one called like Chicken Farm, where you have this chicken NFT, and we earned egg. And it used to be that egg had great value, and then all of a sudden, over time, as more and more egg gets dumped into the system, that eventually that egg essentially falls to nothing. So, though you continuing to earn a whole bunch of this egg on a regular basis, the value continues to diminish because of inflation. Um, One goes look at the dollar, and you know inflation on the dollar is approximately 7% over the years, but we can see that the dollar's lost 99% of its value over a number of decades because of that inflation. Typically in crypto, we have that at a lot faster pace, right? Because we're having a higher inflation rate often. So our tokens tend to fall quite a bit. So the
Yep.
first thing we want to look at is what are we doing to offset that?
Yeah. And so yeah,
Is
there
there a
there's there's
mechanism
there's a
that stop
couple
that?
dynamics within this that are both burn and lock staking. Um, and then there's two other pieces to where it costs more to enter back in, as well as less ROI on token. So there's a couple different burn sinks within the protocol as well. I'm not going to even talk about any of the other economic things that are coming that people are going to be building on this, but there's also coming out a straight burn function on the token as well.
Okay, a burn function. Okay, so what causes the burn?
So there's two pieces, sort of like remember how Pancake Swap has the user defined auto compounding feature to distribute
Okay.
rewards. So there's a user buy and burn trigger device that a user gets a reward that also buys and burns, as well as lock stake.
Okay, so a buy and burn. Okay, I'm not quite sure on how the buy and burn would incentivize you, or how that'd be beneficial long term, other than burning the supply, which benefits I think everybody else,
Yeah.
unless you're getting something out of that.
You are
A
you are getting
lock.
you are getting you for triggering triggering the buy and burn, you do get a fee paid to you.
Yeah, the question is how's that fee paid?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so I'm always looking about how am I going to get more ETH, and not more of the token.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is paid out in ETH, and it's 0.33 of the burn.
But also,
Okay, so are you burning the token, or are you burning? You're not spending ETH though, right, to do this?
No, you're spending ETH for the gas fee.
Okay,
But,
that's fine. That's fine.
you're burning token that is buying
Okay.
it and burning it. And so part of the protocol fees that is collected is buying and burning it, and you're triggering it.
Okay, so essentially you're burning the token, and you're hopefully regaining ETH in
Yep,
in
you're
return
getting
for
paid.
burning it.
Yep, you're getting paid in ETH for burning it.
Okay, so is that essentially swapping through the liquidity pool then?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so you're essentially swapping it through the liquidity pool and get some ETH out of it. Okay. So I mean, so the question is how often is that happening? I would assume that if everybody's doing that, I would assume that there wouldn't be much ETH for very long.
Yeah. Well, so
So
it's one of those.
risk,
So
right?
it's so the piece with it is that it can only be triggered every 5 minutes, and it's
Okay.
based and there's a cap to it as well, that it shows cumulative. It shows the cumulative user reward that has been paid out so far, and it shows the buy and burn balance that has been bought and burned. And one of the pieces that has on it is it's pulling ETH from the protocol in a way to where people that are staking their token, that token is then, or not the stake token, but it's buying and burning from that ETH trigger.
Yeah. So I'm guessing. I mean, obviously, it has to get the ETH from somewhere. So my guess is it's getting the ETH from the people who are doing your stake mining, which I assume is
Yep.
people in order to start have to deposit ETH, right?
Yep.
And so if they're depositing ETH, that's where it's semi-Ponzi-nomic, where it's probably paying out ETH based from that trove that was deposited somehow, would be my guess. I would assume there's some type of mechanism that's doing that,
Yeah.
which is kind of Ponzi-nomics, like you were kind of mentioning, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And obviously, Ponzi's work. Ponzi's do work until nobody continues to come.
Exactly.
Then it's the last man standing. And so that's the sad part about Ponzi's is, I mean, every Ponzi good Ponzi until you're the last one.
Yeah, and every Ponzi is a good Ponzi till everyone takes a break and stops. You know?
Right.
And
And that's the problem. And so, I mean, the biggest thing as I look at is, it's the same thing with this egg thing, right? Egg is great. I had to buy a chicken to have get this egg, and the thing is in the end it's like, okay, what's the utility of the token, right? Because in the end of the day, we probably all want to take these tokens and just trade them out for more ETH, right? I mean, that's what I look at it as at the end of the day.
yeah.
So let's see, what other question was I was going to ask in regards to that? Okay, so we talked about how people can burn. I like that. Now the staking mechanism, right? That kind of reminds me of like Hex, right?
Yeah.
And none of this is financial advice, obviously. We're just talking about the protocol, trying to figure it out. But that part kind of reminds me of Hex, where Hex was basically, I think what Hex actually does is I think they actually burn the token and then give you an interest rate or an inflation rate based off of whatever you deposited that was burnt. And so they're not actually holding your token; they're just giving you a promise to return an increased amount at a certain rate.
Yes, and that's where there's that. My understanding, there's a little bit of the transactional pieces, which I feel that if Hex was made today, it would have been done differently. At least on the math side, because the math is being done on chain, which if you withdraw early, I think it was done in a way that it was known it could be done at the time. Now 2 years later, all the L2s and VRMs that are out, I think the math would have been done in a different way than it was done then.
Possibly, but I think it was kind of smart the way he did it. and it's just the fact that you have the lockup periods,
Yeah.
and that I think there's a penalty if you try to pull out early and all this mechanism. So I think it's that as well is very Ponzi-nomics, but
Yeah.
because you're pushing the Ponzi out further and further, most people just don't recognize it or don't tend to
Yeah.
feel it as much.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's another inflationary Ponzi game, is what it sounds like to me. Can people make money on it? Possibly. Is there absolute risk of losing stuff?
Yeah.
Probably.
Hey, this is one of those things to where I've already done it for 2 cycles, and
Oh,
I've made money.
yeah.
So that I think this is one of those things to where
But
what I
where are
want
you
to
making? Are you making money in the token and then selling the token off that you're receiving?
yeah, and I'm making 4 times as much as I put in.
Well, so here's the question and the thing I have to look at. Anytime you're making money, that money that you're receiving or that you're making has to come from somewhere, right?
Yep.
So it's either coming from an inflationary token that's been created at nothing, right? And then it's
Mm-hmm.
all about the utility and your ability to swap through that token, or
Yep.
it's coming from fees, or it's coming from other people,
Yeah.
right?
And I see that it's so far what I've seen, it is a mixture of all of the above.
Okay, interesting.
So
Yeah,
so there's about five different contracts going on at once, you know.
yeah.
Um, and so with the stake part of it, I can stake token, 3,500 days, and I'm staking token that I don't need. That I'm like, oh, this is dust. I'm not getting any big bonuses out of that, but
Yeah.
they're slowly adding up, you know.
And so, I assume it has the ability to recompound whatever you've earned. So you recompound that in there?
No,
No.
nope.
Okay. Okay.
I
Interesting.
would have to unstake and then restake, and then I would have to claim my miner and make a new miner.
Okay. So when you say stake, you're staking ETH, right?
I'm staking token and I get ETH reward, and like you said, that's coming from the ETH that is used to create miners. I am assuming.
Okay. But so you create a miner using ETH, right?
Yep.
Okay. And then with that miner, you're staking what, their token. So you have to go buy some of their token.
If I want to, if I want to get the bonus before I create a miner,
Or does it just start
um,
generating it? Or by buying a miner, does that just simply start generating the user token?
yes,
It's a
and
virtual miner then.
yep, and I can do so after 6 days. That's when you're in profit. Not by much,
Yeah.
but
Well,
you
and
know,
profit is in the platform token that you're the miner token.
correct.
Okay. Okay. So you receiving that, and does that just continue, or is there a set time period that miner will turn
Set
you
time
profit?
period and then penalty for not claiming.
A penalty for not claiming your miner, or what?
Yep.
Penalty for removing early? Like
You
when
can't
does the penalty apply?
you can't remove early. And I would have to double check on this on what the penalty, if there's a penalty in place for not claiming your minor.
Oh, really?
Um,
That'd be really bizarre.
I don't think there is for.
You just can't do it early then.
Yeah,
Okay. So
you can't do it early.
otherwise, it's a penalty. Okay, so now you don't ever redeem your ETH that you receive for creating the miner, though, do you?
No.
Okay, so that ETH is gone.
Yep.
So in theory, your reward has to exceed the cost of creating a miner, and I see
Yes.
that potentially being an issue if this token is inflationary, because your reward may not exceed the ETH that you're putting in to get it. It may at first, but I think over time, if the token continues to go down and the burn mechanism isn't high enough, you could potentially, see it not be cash flow
Yeah.
positive at some point.
And so one of the things that I've seen so far when I'm creating miners, this is what's going, part of that ETH is what's going into that buy and burn pool.
Yeah.
So the ETH is being used to buy token on market. So it helps token price go up.
Okay.
And then at the same time, it then allows that token is then burned. So it's taking token, it's buying token on market, and then taking that token off the market.
Okay, so essentially it's buying itself back.
Yep.
Is it adding to the liquidity pool, or is it literally just
Yes. Yeah.
okay? But so is it pairing up with the liquidity pool, or is it basically so essentially when you when you make a miner,
Yep.
it's taking the ETH, essentially buying what's in the probably already been deposited in liquidity pool, and then burning whatever it bought.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is a deflationary aspect, which is kind of unique and interesting. Um, the question is whether or not that keeps up, because that would probably make it almost at par. Um, yeah, I mean that's an interesting mechanism, and I guess you'd have to play it out over a longer period of time to see how well that stabilizes the price of the token.
Yeah. And so far, obviously there was the huge hype for it when it first launched.
Yeah.
Right now, there's 1.1. There's several pools. There's several pools across the board, but the biggest one is now in V3. It's moved out of V2 with 1.19 million, 1.17 million, with a total market cap of 9.76.
Huh.
And
so now, one question is there a fixed supply of the token?
no,
And is there any? No, there's no fixed supply. Okay.
no fixed supply, but the amount of token that you get, the difficulty, I guess you could say, the difficulty goes up, so the token amount that you get goes down the later you start miners. So every 24 hours, the difficulty increases, which reduces the amount of token you get, and it slowly increases the ETH amount to start a new miner.
Okay. So, and this will continue on perpetually,
Yes.
right? So it'll always get more difficult and it'll cost more. Okay, now that's an interesting mechanism because that makes the whole thing kind of deflationary a bit
Yeah.
for that creation. That's interesting. How long can a miner stay? But the thing is, the miner only has a limited duration, though, right?
Max miner is 280 days.
280 days.
Yep.
Huh.
And so right now, if I were to do and you can do miners in power of one, from 1 to 100. So it's the miner power that gives you the one of the biggest boosts, where the miner length gives you exponentially more. The more
Huh.
days, the a better ROI. So right now, if you're looking at just the basic calculator, if everything were to stay the same from today to 280 days, it would cost you $5 to start your first miner. And in 280 days, that would turn into $209.66 worth of token.
Interesting.
You know,
You were putting in how much on ETH? How much value?
I'm for this calculation and this exercise, I'm doing it at a miner power of 10, and I'm going to do a farming out of at 14 days, which is $45 to start a miner. And then and that's a 229% ROI, which will give you $149 worth of token in 14 days. And I'm going back into, and you know me, I'm an optimistic.
You're Degen.
Yeah.
Degen.
Optimistic degen. So the equation that I'm looking at is putting more money, taking profit, obviously, but then putting more money into the machine and token, and then holding token at the same time. So
well, no, obviously, if you're taking your initial balance out and you're letting the rest free ride, I don't have problems with people doing that. My problem is when I see people put too much money into something, they never get their original capital out, and then all of a sudden they lose their investment.
And that's where, like, one of the things where I'm seeing this, start to play out, where, even just the difficulty of 14 days has changed in the last 24 hours, to where it went from 162% ROI to now 229% ROI. because of both the token price has gone up in the last day. And now it's on day 37. So it's a rather
what utility in the system does the token provide?
right now it doesn't have one. There's
Okay.
two new protocol. There's one new protocol that's that's public, and I've heard of a second protocol that will also use the token, and it will burn or pair to that token as well, that are coming up, and that's sort of driving some hype on people wanting to collect this token to use these new projects. But I look at those new projects as just ways to burn the token and
Yeah.
noise.
Well, so
They're
I
just
think
noise.
that's where the Ponzi-nomics comes in, is because whoever was early into the project, I mean, this is just like Bitcoin and everything else. Whoever was early into the project benefited from being able to mine the most, right? And so they
Yep.
significantly had way more tokens than anybody else who's starting later. And so therefore, if new ETH is in the system, those people can dump on those who are coming later into the system because it's going to be more costly to enter the system. And this is
Yep.
the same. I mean, we have the same issue with Bitcoin, right? It's
Yeah.
harder to mine Bitcoin today than it was 5, 10 years ago, right?
Yes.
And so therefore, whoever started earlier is benefiting from those who come in later. And this essentially, it's kind of where you almost see it like a Ponzi, is the fact that those who come later, don't do as well as those who came early on. So
Yeah.
I can see that being an issue in the platform, but does that necessarily kill it? Not necessarily. The question is going to be whether or not if that deflationary mechanism or the mining reward continues to go down and the cost of creating one of those miners continues to go up, as to whether or not people are going to want to continue to enter into the system. And that is going to be really about how well they balance the system is depending on the cost, versus the reward.
Yeah. And that's where I'm starting to see, like, one of the things that I saw that he did from the get-go was he created the LP pool initially with about 400K. And he added 400K cash to it, and paired. And so we saw with a new token with that large of a liquidity, we saw, both people buy the heck out of it and then crash it, because people that had got into the protocol early mined quickly, dumped at a higher price. But then we're seeing them try to climb back in. But because of the burn mechanism, I've seen once it's recovered from that, and it's just been slowly creeping up and continuously going up from where it started at.
Yeah,
so
so
it's
that's a good test. That's a good case test, right? To see how
yeah,
resistant it is.
exactly. And so it's one of those things to where, if we're looking at the original chart right now,
So this is this on ETH only?
yes, only on ETH right now.
That's a bummer.
Exactly. But
So
and I think that's good in one aspect, because it costs people to put into it, and because if you're making, if it's costing you only $1 to get into it, and you're making in 14 days you're making $3, that's not going to get a lot of people into it. But if it's costing you $45 to get in, and you're making $150 in 14 days, that tends to interest more people.
all right, let me ask another question and raise another flag if it's there.
Yep.
Is there a referral system involved
Nope.
in the game? No referral.
No.
I'm actually impressed by that. So many
I
of these
know.
Ponzi systems have a referral system baked into it.
Right?
So
I know.
that's actually a positive. It doesn't have that. That's impressive.
Yeah. I have so many friends on Twitter right now that are doing the portal farming, and
Okay.
I'm actually not like normally I see their stuff and they're talking about something cool. Even if they're talking about something cool and they just throw portal into I'm not even liking that post. And then I was told that today's just the end of season 1, and season 2 starts tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my God, no, this is all my time. I almost want to go into Twitter, and you know how you can put in words that will ban posts that have a word in it. I just want to almost put Portal in there and
No,
ban.
I did not know that. I need to start using that properly.
Yeah. And so, right now the token opened up at 5 zeros and a 3. The token raced up to, let me see this. Let me move this chart around real quick.
It would be nice to see if there was more utility for that token, to see like what would you use
Yeah.
that token for. I mean, essentially what you've created is you've essentially created like a virtual miner.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. The chicken project on Avalanche that I was referring to essentially was built the same kind of way, and the purpose was to be a chicken miner. They're actually building a game around their system, so that way the eggs that are produced will be eventually be deflationary and be able to be used for the game. I've yet to see it, but the idea essentially works, right? I mean, you're
I
taking that
remember a
concept.
game like that was your eggs, you could hatch your eggs. If you also got a rooster, and then there was like an egg conversion to feed to burn the eggs, and then
Yeah,
the
that's
feed,
it. Yeah. Well, the feed was to feed your chicken, and
yeah,
that made your chicken larger, which then allowed you to harvest more eggs or generate more egg.
yeah,
That's I believe we're talking about the same one. Um,
okay,
and so obviously you were incentivized to get more feed to feed your chicken, so that way you could get more eggs, and then I
yeah,
don't know, the eggs were inflationary, so you ended up having to just sell your eggs up all the time.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. It'd be interesting to see the similarities and the differences between the two.
yeah. And so like this token started off at 5 zeros or 6 zeros and a 5 zeros and a 4, and it ran all the way up real quickly in the first 2 days up to 4 zeros and a 7. So it lost to 0 and 20x'd. Then obviously the people that got the token quickly and did quick mines dumped, and it dropped slightly below start price, but not actually much. Like I think it hit it for microsecond, and then the auto trigger buy and burn kicked in, and it started going up, and we've seen it slowly climbing. So it started at 5 zeros, and 5 zeros and a 1 at one point, and now it's at 4 zeros and a 1. So and this has been over the last 37 days. This hasn't been a skyrocket inch up. You can see like a lot of a buy, burn, sell application in this, and so it's rather interesting to see on deck screener and see it slowly inch up, and you can see where people are claiming their mines because then they sell, and the buy and burn is triggered from that contract call, which then puts it back up a little bit higher. So there's an interesting piece to it there that I'm waiting to I'm really interested to see how this would play out in that long-term thing, like I was sort of saying. And I wanted to sort of see what you thought on a 75% remine and profit, 20% token
Hey,
stake.
I'm sorry, real quick. My
Yeah.
my thing had just cut off. I hopped in my car and my headset cut off, so I just missed what you were asking or talking about.
Yeah, no. So I was just saying that it's been interesting to see the token price because you can see it dump every time someone's claiming and selling, and then the buy and burn feature is coming back and bringing it up, and so it's been a steady climb each day, and not
So
astronomical.
the buy and burn feature though that you're talking about, that is from people creating new miners, right?
Creating new miners
Because if there's no
and triggering there's a burn feature that buy and burn that people can trigger.
Okay, and they're triggering that by burning their own tokens, or how?
No,
How are they triggering that?
they have a button, they have a whole page and staker payout that distributes that ETH, and buys and burns it. And so that's where there's the user reward as well.
So what incentivizes somebody to pull the trigger on the buy and burn, and what does that cost them?
So depending, it costs around $5 to $8 depending on where gas is at. And they get a small user reward out of that. And so yeah.
Interesting. So, I wonder though, what tokens does it burn? Like whose tokens, or where's that burn coming from?
It's buying the token off the market with the ETH from the miners, and then it's burning that token that it bought.
Okay. So it's holding ETH in reserve, and it set aside so much ETH to basically burn whenever somebody pulls that trigger.
Correct.
Interesting. Okay. Then it buys and burns that. Okay, and that can happen every so often.
Every 5 minutes right now is and so.
Well, and the fact that the miners are actually going to go up in cost to initiate a miner every time, over time there should be more and more ETH to do the buy and the burn.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting dynamic.
So, and this is where I'm seeing, the economics of the Degen play. One of the weird. This is one of those weird things where I've seen difficulties increase, and I've seen the ROI decrease, or like the token amount decrease, but I've seen the miner length be able to be increased. He's keeping the miner length max at 280 days. So there's some interesting piece there with it.
Well, so yeah, he's essentially limiting how long a person can be in there. I mean, that way it forces you to come back and open a new miner, because if you're making money, you're going to want to create a new one, right?
Yep.
And so whoever is coming in is essentially paying out or incentivizing or helping the person who was in there previously. So it kind of perpetuates the Ponzi.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
And where I have, like, this is where I'm like, where is his ROI on this? Because
I'm sure he was in early.
Well, he brought in $400K of his own dollars to create the liquidity pool. So that's where, so he started, it's where that burn and the initial LP tokens were burned, that I'm like, is there an altruistic purpose in this, that he just wanted to make something that even he could use and make money on, and that there will always be that cushion?
Well, yeah, that would make sense. I mean, yeah. It's nice that, it sounds like he's doing something altruistic. He made money in the beginning part. He may have kept some of those tokens, right?
Yeah.
And so that by itself, benefits him.
Yeah. Especially, so like if he moved like part of it was put into V3. So hopefully he's then getting, he might have burned those LP tokens, but he's still collecting the fees on trades. And as more and more people add into the V3 pool, other people, the liquidity is growing. I put liquidity in because I want both sides of that play as well. People buying on open market and people selling. Oh, you muted.
Well, exactly. If he was early in and he put a large amount of tokens into that liquidity pool, then yeah, he would he would obviously benefit as more and more people come into the system. The only thing I would watch out there is whether or not there's a rug, and whether or not liquidity pool is locked somehow, or whether he can pull it. I was just recently in another project that I bought the token, and the guy who created the project completely pulled all the liquidity from the project, pretty much rugged it, right?
LP is locked, and I've gone through the contracts myself.
Nice.
Reentry protection, flash loan protection, and you know, as of right now, I can't see any issues at a contract level. You know, not to say something's going to be created in 2 weeks that you know, will kill every other contract, like, you know, killed Kyber Swap. That was a sad thing.
Well, is Kyber Swap literally dead?
I don't know if it's dead, but all pools are you know, they haven't figured out the issue yet.
Well, I think he was holding them hostage, right?
and he's holding them all hostage to become Kyber director.
Yeah.
Which is sort of hilarious. I've actually messaged him both on Telegram and on Chain for an interview. So we'll see if that happens.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's, you know, could somebody create a Ponzi that can sustain itself for a while? Yeah, I mean, possibly, and it'll be interesting to see how long it lasts.
Yeah.
You know, are there altruistic people out there? I like to think so. You know, I'm sure he's making his money somehow. You know, obviously, if token value goes up, he's going to benefit from that. You know, but you know, can everybody else benefit along the way? Yeah, potentially. I don't see why not. But you know, I don't usually play in Ponzi-like games, though I was in the chicken farm. But whenever I play in something like that, I put very little into it.
Yeah. No,
and usually it's because I got suckered in by a friend.
Yeah.
The best thing is, you know, if anybody is going to look at the protocol, it's best, you know, get your money out, your investment that you originally put in, and then, you know, get your original investment out, make that money back, and then if you want a free ride and gamble with the profits that you make, then, you know, I could see somebody doing that. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. We're talking about a protocol here, and trying to understand the ins and outs of it a little bit. And
Yeah.
definitely, you know, it sounds interesting. That's why I love the space. Everybody's creative, and you know, it's financial innovation at its best.
And it's one of those things to where he's been part of Hex, he's been part of Zen, he's seen all the different ecosystems of Zen and DB Zen and all of the, and you know, Icosa and Hedron. So he's been around for a while. And so one of the things I heard through the grapevine from what he was sort of saying was, I saw where all of these things were sort of broken, and I wanted to try to do it differently, you know?
Yeah, so the only question is whether or not there's any exploits or other issues of this code that somebody might be able to find later on down the road.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
And, you know, maybe, you know, one of those things that we can, you know, look at doing is, you know, if anything, create a bounty pool, you know, on like Code 4 Arena or something like that. And that would be a community thing, or, you know, I know he went through audits. I forget what company he went through 3 audits. I forget what companies they were. I would have to go look in his documents, because he has his GitHub out there. And so yeah, that's where I went through all the contract pieces, was through GitHub. And yeah.
So he's doing contract audits. So he's trying to build something legitimate, from what it sounds like.
Yeah, and that's what I get. But this is one of those things where even when someone's trying to build something legitimate, you know, whales or, you know, sharks, you know, will come in and strip the soil so quickly that nothing else can grow more.
And it sounds like you saw that at the beginning, right? You saw that with the early entrances. They made a fat amount in the beginning, and then they dumped it, and they move on to the next protocol, right?
Yeah.
I really do think in the end, though, it comes down to what utilities provided from that token, right?
Yep.
And it goes the same way with Bitcoin, right? Mining Bitcoin by itself, you know, Bitcoin, you know, it's all about the utility and, you know, how well it's recognized. You know, Bitcoin has only survived this long because people gave it utility. They traded with it, they bartered with it. You know, they had the early days of Silk Road and all those other things. Without all that stuff, you know, if there wasn't any of that, Bitcoin would have never taken off. But because people provided utility to it is what gave it purpose and gave it value. So
Yeah, and I see that with a lot of different things, and so,
oh, that's with everything though. That's with everything. It's all
does
about,
it get tradable value?
yeah. What is the public going to see? It's the same thing with our dollar. I mean, anybody who really understands the dollar and understands that there's nothing backing our dollar should quickly realize that the only value in the dollar is the fact that everybody recognizes it globally.
Yeah,
And are foolish enough to continue to trade a piece of paper,
yeah,
realizing it's not redeemable for anything, right?
yeah. You can't even get gold for it anymore.
No,
Well, you can
exactly.
at a pawn shop. You can
Well,
at a pawn shop.
you can trade for gold. You can buy gold with it, right? But it's
Yeah.
definitely not redeemable for gold anymore.
No. Yeah. Wasn't I don't remember what year was redeemable for gold removed from it. Was that?
I don't. I think it might have been 1933. The silver coinage. They took silver out of coins in 1964, but I think it was in 1933. I think might have been Roosevelt. And the reason was is in 1929 when the crisis happened with the stock market crash, people fled to the banks and basically withdrew their gold from the banks, which because financial markets were collapsing, and so people
Yeah.
went to what was originally money. They went back to gold, and the government was afraid of that because what happens is people started hoarding gold, and if you hoard gold, that's less money in the system that's circulating, and so because of that they had to discourage people from actually holding gold. So they created a law where basically people were no longer allowed to hold gold, and they forced everybody to put their gold back into the banks before they broke the dollar away from the gold system.
This is something I actually knew and I forgot. But it was 1934 that the Federal Reserve surrendered, invested all gold. But it was 1971 under Nixon at the Bretton Woods Agreement. Right. And Bretton Woods Agreement was, and I knew this because I was taken to that hotel and I got to go walk and take pictures in the Bretton Wood room where it was done. And I got to.
Thanks for updating us on that.
And it's called the Gold Room.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And
that's true. Yeah.
Side note, that when the Bretton Woods Agreement was also made, it also created a WEF.
Yeah, the World Economic Forum.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's an interesting point. That's when that was created.
Yep. So, but I've built out a spreadsheet. I'm going to be building out what a 14-day piece will look like, and where 75% of profit is or claim is turned into both cash profit and exponential miners. So going from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 miners, and so that'll be 6 cycles of 14 days, and seeing what that looks like. Because this is, if you're starting with $45, and you're turning that into $150 your first time, and then, turning $90 into $300, and going from there. Are you at being the part of the Ponzi, or you're following the system and adding to it to keep it going?
Well, I think both. I think you're a part of the Ponzi. It sounds like a virtual video game miner, but in this one, you're actually utilizing real cryptocurrency.
Yes. Yep. So it's an interesting piece,
Well, keep me posted. I'm not in the project yet. I might take a look at it, but obviously no promises there. Keep me posted on how it goes.
I will. So far, I've done. I've created a few batch miners. I created one batch miner for max, at the cheapest value, and that it's the value that it was supposed to create at the time has gone up since. And I've had 2 cycles of profitable mints where I've taken the initial cash I put in off the table, and now it's magic internet money.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, it always makes you wonder how can it sustain itself, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so that's the big question is how does something like that continue to sustain itself? And right now, the only way that I can guess is that it's coming from ETH fees or people who are creating the miners, and
Yeah.
those who are coming afterwards. So, yeah.
I see it from both the burn fees, as well as the miners. Um, and so it will be
Well,
interesting to see how this plays out.
and we know but the buyback and burn method kind of works because I mean that's kind of what BNB was doing on a portion, right? Like they were
Yep.
essentially burning tokens, and when you burn tokens like that, it creates that deflationary aspect, which you know causes any reduction in supply is a good thing usually.
Yeah. No, definitely. And so as we've seen that batch burn with BNB has fluctuated a lot, and but we've seen it go from 20 cents, all the way up to 600. Now it's sitting around 240, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, every token will see a fluctuation based off
Yeah.
the market and the participants.
Uh, just so you know, in the last hour, we've had Bitcoin break 40,000, and now it was
Nice.
almost hitting. It was almost about to hit 4,600, but now it's it's at 45 right now. 40,600. It is going.
40,600. Nice. That's a good
Yeah.
way to that's a good way to end the night.
Hey,
That might be the threshold of where people start promoting in. We may be back to 60 fairly soon.
yeah, ETH has broken 2,200, and now 2,200, and now it's starting to rip too.
I really need ETH to trade up more though. The ETH to Bitcoin ratio hasn't been good lately, and
Well, and I felt like it's sort of like depegged on where it was sort of not following each other a little bit more, and
yeah.
and I think that might be a good thing.
Well, I don't know. I'm in a whole bunch of ETH Bitcoin pools, so I would rather the ETH ratio go up against Bitcoin because over
Yeah.
the last 6 months I've drained out some Bitcoin into ETH, and that's not really what what I was intending to do with that play.
Oh man, Beefy's done some cool new pools. Um, I and then Savvy.
You have Beefy tokens, right?
Yeah, I have some
Okay.
Binance Beefy tokens. I
Okay.
already got
Okay.
I already got them
Got the
exchanged.
drop. Okay, got the exchange. Good. Good.
Yep.
Nice. Yep.
Not much, but yeah.
Well, so they should be over on Optimism, right? Or no, they're on Arbitrum.
Yep.
And I assume you're staking them for the rewards.
Yep.
Cool. Did you opt for the Beefy rewards or opting for ETH rewards?
I think I opted for Beefy rewards.
Okay. If you bridge them back over to Ethereum, I believe you can also stake it for ETH rewards as well. So you might take a
Nice.
look at that if interested. Right
Yeah.
now, I'm trying to earn more Beefy myself. So.
Yeah. Right now, I'm just trying to earn more Beefy. I'm working on ETH rewards on Base right now on Base Swap. I'm in a lot of the LP pools, and then I take the BSX, and I'm staking for ETH and USDC. And then Savvy DeFi. I'm earning ETH, staking ETH, and then I'm adding into the LP rewards for more ETH as well within Bunny and OLIT
Oh,
token.
for more ETH?
Yeah.
SPY, huh? Interesting.
Yep.
I'll have to take a look at that one.
The Arbitrum ETH.
Yeah. Interesting. So are you depositing ETH into Savvy?
Yep. I'm depositing ETH into Savvy, borrowing ETH, and then I'm putting that ETH into the LP pools to earn OLIT and Savvy. And then I'm taking that ETH off the table, and that Savvy I'm compounding back in for more rewards.
Huh. Okay.
More LP.
Well, yeah. Play more with that, and that's through Bunny that you're doing that through, huh?
Yeah, because they've added so they have Trader Joe pools, and they have bunny pools, and so I'm also earning OLIT. And
I've been in the Trader Joe pool for a while.
Yeah,
I think
that Wrap BTC pool has some good ROI right now.
I'm providing the what is it? The SV ETH and ETH pool. That's
Okay.
one I'm in, but I only have like a little bit in there.
Nice. I'm doing the Frax ones, the Savvy Frax, on Bunny.
Okay.
And then I'm doing because the Savvy token that I can earn, that I'm earning, I'm taking half of it and just zapping it into the Savvy Frax.
Gotcha.
And then same thing with the Savvy Wrap BTC.
Did you ever take a look at TBDC?
No, which one?
TBTC.
No, send me that one. TBC. Oh, so, wait, no. The TBTC. Yeah, the true. Oh,
true.
Are you switching to Wi-Fi now?
I don't think it's anything to do with.
It's not. True. It's not true BTC.
Oh, unless it's. I've been on Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay.
I just walked in the building, so maybe it's just threshold.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, yeah, threshold. Yeah, I know. Okay.
Yeah, threshold.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I'm actually playing with some liquidity between TBDC and WBTC. And nice. So right now there's about $3 million worth of liquidity between those two pairs. And so the nice thing is obviously if you're in two different versions of Bitcoin, you don't have as much impermanent loss because it's almost like trading two pairs that should be fairly similar in price. But then you collect fees in both types of those Bitcoin derivatives. The nice thing about TBDC versus WBTC is TBDC is redeemable back for Bitcoin, where Bitcoin can be, Bitcoin can be sent back to on-chain. So that's a nice feature.
Yeah, I'm doing that, and then I'm doing a Wrap BTC Giddy pool on Gamma on Polygon.
Yeah, I'm in the U.S., so I don't use Gamma because I think it prohibits U.S. people.
But my computer, I use a VPN. I use a VPN because that's what they say to use when you're on Wi-Fi for safety. For some reason, all my ads are in Danish.
Well, and you're in Dutchland, huh?
Yeah, but yeah. I'm in Denmark.
But I know some people use Gamma. And they like Gamma. The only thing I'm curious about Gamma, because Gamma has some really high rates, and Gamma utilizes the V3s, Uniswap V3s. So because they have very tight ranges, I'm curious on impermeable loss, right? Like for example, let's say you're entering one token, right? And let's say you have 1,000 units of that token. It trades it all out into the other token. And then it re-enters the position, through a different pool at a different point, and then trades back. Well, what if it trades back at a different incremental, at a different increment? So you could end up with 900 tokens instead of 1,000 or something like that.
Yeah. So I know that they take an exit fee. I don't know if it's an exit fee or if it's an entrance fee, because I know one of the things that they do is they readjust before it goes all the way one way. So if they're they keep it tight, like you said, but when it starts to fluctuate within 10%, it automatically readjusts that pool. It exits the position and re-enters at the new point. And so with that, I know it has an interesting feature there. So Gamma automatically is readjusting that. And so I think that's where they take that 3%, I think, entrance fee. that they're using for that total pool month.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then they harvest the reward, which is where the
Yeah.
APY comes in, right? So let's say you enter in with 1,000, right?
Yeah.
In hopes that that the APY is actually going to increase the amount. But the thing is if they exit the pool, right, and then they
Yep.
reestablish the pool at a different parameter, and then it trades back the other direction. I'm wondering if one, in terms of dollar value, you might have seen a percentage increase, but in terms of tokens that you deposited when you exit out, whether or not might end up with actually less tokens, right? You might
Yeah.
end up having, hey, a dollar price increase, but if I put 1,000 in and all of a sudden maybe because the token price has gone up, maybe I only end up with 900 tokens when I exit out. And so even though I might have made 120%, I actually lost tokens, right?
Yeah.
And I would have been better off just holding. And so I'm curious on how that kind of plays out over time.
Well,
Just
so
because
like
I
you,
just see that with entering, when you enter and exit a pool and then you re-enter a pool, you can
yeah.
definitely pick up a permanent loss from that.
Yeah. Yeah. When like you, I go in with a dollar amount, like I'll go in with like 100 USDC and I'll zap that in. So and then when I exit, I'll zap out in dollars.
Oh, I don't do dollars. Yeah, I do
Yeah.
crypto. If you're doing dollars, you probably don't have to worry about it as much. And that's a smart way to do to do gamma. Most of my
Yeah.
liquidity pools that I'm in, it's like ETH and wrap Bitcoin, right? And so
Yeah.
for
When I'm
example,
doing pools like that, that's what I'm doing.
yeah,
I'm doing exotics, as I like to say,
yeah,
where I don't care which token I really have more or less of, you know?
well, yeah. Well, for example, like ETH and wrap Bitcoin, right? If
Yeah.
usually I'll enter a position like a V3 with 100% ETH, right? But
Yep.
then let's say that ETH trades up and goes all the way up to let's say we're in a range of 0.05 to 0.08, right? And all of a
Hmm.
sudden ETH goes all the way up to 0.08. We're now in 100% WBTC. All of a sudden, ETH is at 0.09, right? And I'm
Yeah.
sitting in wrap BTC and going, oh my God, I really want to get my ETH back, right? And so now I reset my pool to start at 0.09. The problem
Yep.
is when I do that, if I reset my pool at 0.09, I'm going to be dollar cost averaging back into ETH at a more expensive rate. So when we fall all the way back down to that lower number again, I'm actually going to have less ETH than when I started off at the very beginning because I exited the pool and re-entered the pool at a higher position. And so I'm curious on how that plays out. On a dollar basis, you might not notice it because on a dollar level, you're still making money. But the thing is on a token level, you may end up losing out. Where I'm
Yeah.
at, and I'm sure I've done that once or twice before.
Yeah.
Replaying with my positions over and over again.
That
I've,
is
I've,
one of those
I've,
things where
I've,
I've done that a few times too. But when I'm usually I'm harvesting rewards, or
yeah,
it's on an emissions pool. So one of the stupid things I do, like what I've seen with a lot of beefy pools, is I can take those gamma tokens, and I can just stake them into beefy, and it will auto compound for me.
well, and that's the beautiful thing about Beefy. I mean, that is why I like Beefy over a lot of other platforms, is because it continues to do that for you, and that is really the
Yeah.
benefit. I mean, having a Uniswap V3, unless you have a specific plan as to what you're trying to do, yeah, it can be a headache just to harvest your V3 rewards and then
Yeah.
auto compound those. So I
Yeah.
mean, I kind of have a system for myself. But the thing is like on some of these things, I'm concerned about withdrawing from my Uniswap V3s because I have one of those cases where I've had wrap Bitcoin bleed off into ETH, and if I exit this pool, then I lose out on that wrap Bitcoin, and if I re-establish the pool, I'm going to be dollar cost averaging at a different rate, and
Yeah.
that might not be a favorable rate if I exit the position. So it's like the waiting game at this point.
Have you collected enough ETH rewards and BTC rewards to make that favorable to you?
I would, I would say if that was all I was doing, yeah, it's been nice. I've earned, yeah, I've earned a decent amount of. I usually what I do is I keep the ETH for just for use, right, for gas fees
Yeah.
and whatnot, and then the WBTC and the TBDC I take and I recompound it back into the pool together.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's actually been doing me pretty decent. I'm thinking I'm making like probably about 3.5% on Bitcoin, which
Nice.
is not it's not huge, but for a good asset, I'm happy with that. Knowing that it's a fairly safe system.
Yeah.
Um, Unfortunately, in the gains that I've been making in ETH and Bitcoin, I've probably lost in shitcoins.
I've lost on JPEGs and shitcoins.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I've got, hey, I don't say it's not a loss until you sell. I have a good investment in NFTs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And seeing floor prices come up, oh man, there's just been so much going on in the last month. It's just sort of been crazy to see, you know?
Yeah, yeah, right. I am probably a little more selective on what NFTs I buy these days, though.
Um, yeah, yeah, no, I probably not me. I actually, I'm looking at, you know, a lot of the stuff that I got, early, looking for either partial exits or, um, just going and moving,
Well,
transferring to another wallet and just, setting a price for it and letting it and just coming back, at Christmas time to see if
yeah.
anything.
Well, I mean, I like the Cool Cats. The Cool Cats just had that. What do you call it? Their float in the parade, and I
Yeah.
saw they actually jumped up above 1 ETH during that time period, which I thought was pretty cool.
Well, and
And
not only
then,
that, but Macy's launched a game with Cool Cats in it. Like they
oh
just
yeah,
like a little like
nice,
almost like a temple run type of game from what I could tell.
yeah,
Like a
nice.
um but I actually follow the Macy's guy on LinkedIn. He's their director of digital partnerships and innovation at Macy's. And they're building
Nice.
like a little open
I
world
visited their.
runner game. Yeah.
Well, I visited I visited the parade that they had last year, and just to check to see if there was anything different. Unfortunately, it's still the same this year, but that was still pretty cool, and I reshared that. I'm looking at NFT projects right now that basically still have projects that are actually ongoing, and because there's surprisingly there are still people building the space. Not all
Yeah.
NFT projects are dead, and so I'm trying to find some of those. And awesomely enough, you can buy them at a huge discount right now. So it's just like
Um,
if you're wanting to be a part of a community, now's not a bad time to go find an NFT project that actually is still thriving or still doing stuff, and
yeah.
potentially buying that NFT that you missed out on last year when it was too expensive, because they're definitely like down significantly.
The
Even
ones
on
I'm
Board
looking at
Apes.
right now, Shrapnel and
Shrapnel.
Parallel.
What chain is Shrapnel on?
Both are on ETH.
Okay, Parallel. Isn't that the card game?
Yeah, so Parallel is on ETH and Base, but one of the cool things with Parallel, they've had the TCG for a minute, but now they're opening up like an AI agent world where like they built the whole game out in AI by prompt commanding the AI to make the game in specific ways. And so they've been slowly customizing that. So that's Parallel TCG and Parallel Colony. You muted yourself. And Bitcoin just hit 40,800. Woohoo! And ETH is at 2,222. So it's a good piece. You back?
None of these
Are you
stores.
back?
I'm back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay. It's unfortunate. Stores today, they don't want you shopping on your phone while you're in the store with a price check, right? And so anytime you step in a store, your signal drops.
Yeah.
So it makes it hard to go walking around to talk to my wife and stuff.
Yeah, no. Thank you so much for taking the time, and
No, it's all good.
you and I always have a great time with you.
Oh yeah. No, it's always fun to talk DeFi, talk
Yeah.
crypto.
Who knows? Maybe so there's this new project that just launched on so okay, we'll roll this back for a second. Did you do anything on inscriptions with Bitcoin?
I don't believe I did anything. Let's see. What was there something else? There was something other than inscriptions. Was the inscriptions the first
And inscriptions and then ordinals. So like
ordinals? Okay.
yeah.
So I have some exposure to ordinals. I didn't do any inscriptions. Somebody dropped me like a fraction of an ordinal to my wallet, just because I had a whole bunch of X-Chain NFTs and Pepe NFTs and stuff like that. And so they dropped me something, but I haven't done anything myself. Back with back in what 2021, I think I spent about $1,500 on Pepe NFTs on X-Chain, and I was like, okay, I have my NFTs on Bitcoin. I'm good enough. I don't need to jump into this stuff. I don't like spending my Bitcoin. I'm okay with spending ETH and doing stuff like that, but like long term now, my Bitcoin's for a hodl.
Oh man, I didn't get to tell you this, but I actually spent like 3-4 hours in Barcelona on the beach boardwalk giving away sats.
That's nice. How long ago was that?
A month and a half ago during the Chainlink conference.
You're a nice guy.
I was getting people to download the user app so that they could learn about Bitcoin and the wallet.
We're using Lightning though?
Yep.
Okay, so it's okay to give away a little sats on Lightning. That's what Lightning's for.
I was giving away 200 sats, and then they were earning 250 sats just for setting up their user and connecting it to Wallet of Satoshi. Nice. And then user is a sats to earn,
Yeah, nice. No, I think I'm in a few Bitcoin communities, and we practice within our community. We practice transferring sats back and forth like that. Yeah, no, it's good to do some dust transactions.
Yeah,
also Doge is another one that's easy to do that with. You get a Doge wallet and then just throw some Doge back and forth.
I transferred my Doge to a Doge wallet a long time ago. The last of my Doge that I had, because I had exited so much, I'd given so much Doge away. I was just like, well, let me keep like 2, and
Two?
Sure, we're gonna call it 2.
Okay.
And I opened up my Doge wallet the other day, and it's like, you're 8 months behind network synchronization, and I was like, oh, it's been a while.
Yeah, that's not usually a good thing.
Yeah, so I left that app open for half a day. But
I'm actually getting ready to join a company. Don't know if I want to say it right now, but down the road I think we're gonna do some media stuff. So we'll have to have you on sometime, and have it have some discussions.
Always happy to join in anything you're doing.
Likewise.
This is a fun thing. Yeah. So for those that don't know,
I do try to avoid talking about what they might consider Ponzi's at times.
I 100%, and well, unless I'm calling out a Ponzi.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, so, but like this is one of those things where I'm trying to kick the tires and figure out, why am I making money on this right now? Who am
And
I
how long
screwing
will it
over?
last? And who am I screwing over? Will this actually last? Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
you know, and so it's one of those fun things um, to do.
Well,
And
it
yeah,
feels like everything in finances these days is a Ponzi. It's either one person is always cashing out on somebody else, and it's
yeah.
just that's the sad truth of all of finance to some extent.
Well, and as we're starting to see like the tokenization of assets and stuff like that, it's going to be interesting. I'm sure that you'll take a laugh of this. Someone I had a conversation with Wednesday, Aaron Kaplan from Prometheum.
Okay, and what happened?
We did interview and stuff like that to sort of hear what Prometheum is planning on building in tokenization of assets and how they feel everything is a security, and that they're going to be the solution to the problem.
Interesting. Prometheum,
Yeah.
huh?
But I think one of the things that I was able to wiggle out a little bit is that they're not. They might say that everything that's in ERC is ERC20 is a security. NFTs are not, unless they're fractionalized. But then I feel like that's not even their aim. They're looking to get every other TradeFi piece tokenized, and be the provider of that.
Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
you know,
Yeah,
so there will be some interesting pieces there.
for sure, for sure. No, this space is only going to get more and more interesting, especially California, like past AB 39, which basically makes it so that way if you're managing digital financial assets on behalf of others, you're going to be required to be licensed, and that goes in effect in 2025.
Yep.
So we absolutely like see the space and institutions coming in. That's going to legitimize a good portion of it.
Yep.
So it's definitely going to be fascinating to see where the space goes.
Yep. What do you think about like some of the distributed compute power and distributed GPUs and
Uh,
everything?
yeah, I like that. Like you're thinking like render.
Render, yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely. I mean, I own some render token. I like the idea of distributed compute power, especially as we have things like ChatGPT, which are processor intensive.
Yep.
And I think as we see that grow and we see AI grow, it would be nice to find decentralized ways of managing compute power over time, rather than
Yep.
just relying on AWS and server farms that are controlled by other people. I was actually at a Bitcoin meetup this last week, and they were talking about Nostr, which I liked because that was also talking about decentralizing communication, and I'm a really proponent for just decentralizing various things like compute power and communication, and basically having people in control of their data versus centralized systems.
Yeah. I like Nostr on the fact that it's looking on being part of that federation piece. Um, I think it's Plebster is my access point.
Cluster.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then obviously been trying to be more and more active on Warpcast. Um,
I haven't gone on Nostr yet, but I am going to have to check it out.
yeah,
Just it looks pretty cool.
yeah. There's just some cool fun stuff building.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm a bit. I don't like to spend my Bitcoin, so I'm not sure if I like to use sats. I'll have to buy some sats just for Nostr.
Okay. Yeah.
I would, I'm okay with spending ETH. I'm okay with spending Doge and spending Doge. Bitcoin is just like, no, this is a financial reserve asset, in my opinion. And so I'm going to keep that. I can spend everything else but my Bitcoin.
Nice. Um,
it's like nobody has, as far as I'm concerned, nobody has enough Bitcoin.
yeah, I definitely don't have enough Bitcoin. But so okay, so we totally went through the bush, took a left on this road. But
Yeah,
originally I was asking about inscriptions.
yeah.
So
Inscriptions. Go
recently,
back.
inscriptions came out on Solana, an ordinal basically on Solana. So everything is held on chain without any pointers. All data, both either as a text
Yeah,
file or as an image.
and those are
Um,
like the little digital images that are very small, but they fit inside of like I don't know. I don't want to. Is it one block that they fit into?
yeah, well, within that account that can
Yeah,
be that's can be within any transaction piece.
yeah.
So um,
I liked it. The only thing is, I mean, there's not a whole lot of detail that can be put into those images from what I saw. Um,
right
so
now I'm uploading full image files. Obviously it's costing a little bit more, but I'm not having to use IPFS in any way, shape, or form. Or
yeah,
are we? Um,
that is pretty cool.
yeah,
Um, I don't know how beneficial it is to put images unless you can put information that's useful. My
yeah,
my real thing that I would like to see for inscriptions, which can kind of already be done with Bitcoin, with blocks, is I really think it's important to preserve history on
mhm,
chain. Like we have Satoshi, Chancellor and Brinks,
yep,
in that first block. And I think that's really crucial and important because we have a tendency to, whoever the victor is in history, to overwrite and rewrite history based off of the victor, right? And so I think we really need to preserve history on chain so that way whoever comes in the future can actually go and see what really happened throughout history.
yeah,
Because I think, and we also want to make sure whatever history gets written on chain is actually valid and accurate, because I think we can see some manipulation of that over time, which
yeah,
is a concern, right? Like is Wikipedia, is it valid? Is it accurate? One of the big things that we're going to see going forward in the future with AI, because right now anybody, people, not anybody, but essentially a person could go create an AI video of somebody, mimic their voice, and make it look as if it was really them. And so we are at some point going to need attestation on chain to verify that whatever's being posted is actually accurate information coming from the true source.
yeah. Which then is sort of hilarious. Um, I don't know if I told you this. What do you think of WorldCoin?
WorldCoin, is that the one where you have to look at it with your eyeball?
Yep.
Yeah. Don't know how much I like it. I know where we're going with that, probably with surveillance and economy. Yeah, I try to
Well,
avoid
so
that.
okay, this is what it does. My looking through the technology, what the what the technology does is it within that orb that someone's holding is it literally takes your eyes and just turns it into a hash, and then that hash is compared to all other hashes to make sure it's unique, and if it's unique it validates it, and then it ties that uniqueness to a wallet address. There's no you don't need I didn't need to show my ID, or I didn't need to like say my name was or anything like that.
Yeah, but I
uh,
don't think I don't think eyes are 100% unique, unfortunately. So
yeah,
that is an issue, potentially.
it could be whatever measurements it also takes on the face for eye distance. I'm sure that they've sort of put that in there enough, that it doesn't need the whole face, it's just taking that eyepiece. But I think that that's a moment that especially as people are trying to bring voting on chain, or they keep talking about voting on chain. Well, how do you prove that one person's just not controlling 50,000 wallets?
For voting, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if it's a temporary thing, but people's eyes change over time.
Yeah,
And so I would be concerned about that. I wouldn't want to have millions of dollars locked up under my eye, and all of a sudden I get cataracts and have to have cataract surgery. Now I can't access my account. or something crazy
No,
like that,
no.
right?
So you don't need to keep scanning your eyes.
Oh, you
It
don't?
Nope. It just does it once. You
Well,
know.
I would almost prefer to scan my eye for the security purposes if that was the case, though.
Yeah.
Like imagine that you went to go vote and you had to scan your eye to verify who you were on chain
Yeah.
in order to vote. I think that would be an awesome application for that, right? To
That.
verify that you're actually the voter on chain who you say you are.
Yeah. That
It
that
would,
would be cool. You know.
yeah.
And people are like, what's really hilarious is people are scared of that. But now when you go get your ID, your driver's license or ID, you have to position your face so that they can map your face and they can scan
Oh,
it.
yeah. People don't
You
realize
know.
how much surveillance is already out there.
Yeah. Like when I flew to Barcelona, I didn't even need to pull out my passport when I got on the plane. I walked up with my passport and ticket out. Their
Yeah.
camera saw me. I wasn't even looking at it. Saw me, pulled up my picture, my name, my seat number, and said, "Had a good flight."
Nice.
Yeah.
And I just walked right onto the plane.
Nice. Did we cover what you wanted to cover on inscriptions, or did you have something else to add?
No. So there's the inscription pieces, but then there's this new project that just launched the other day, called like Space Odyssey, if I remember right. I would have to double check on that. I'm sort of tied here. Hold on, let me double check. Because I have another phone. I have lots of phones. Space operator. Space underscore operator underscore. And what they're allowing you to do is visually code in Rust, like in their own little like VB way, where you can drop instruments and objects and then create pathways for them, so you can see them operate on, visually, and then run them in a virtual box, basically. So like almost like the old days of pipes or electrician.
Send me that. Send me that so I can take a look at it later if you don't mind.
I will.
When you get a chance.
And then minting it. So this is where we tied it into render, is if you mint one of the NFTs, you get render credits. So you get to see, like, when you trigger the mint, you get to see the workflow of that mint and the operation of it on screen,
That's pretty cool.
what it's doing.
That's pretty cool.
And then at the same time, then you have your avatar, which you can then use the render credits they give you to change it up, and then that image can be saved and switched with the data. So your NFT almost has layers of different images, solid images, so you can choose which one is front facing.
Are you doing any physical mining right now?
No, I'm getting ready to do some stuff. I'm doing demo with my car data.
Huh. Okay. Haven't heard of that one.
Demo.
Oh,
I
Demo?
always say demo, but demo. DIMO.
Is that a social token?
It's a data token, so that my car analytics that normally go to the GM for free. That data is now verified on chain and can be accessed via paying me token.
Gotcha.
I'm looking at doing some Quai network, because it's real easy to. And then I've looked at a couple other things, and I have an old computer to set up.
I know some buddies have been trying to get me to mine the Caspa, but I think I missed the high emission rates. But another one I was looking at, or I was recently hearing about in a room, was I think it was Zephyr.
Okay.
And it sounded like they were trying to be a Monero type thing. The token is ZEPH, Zephyr Protocol.
ZEPH. Okay.
ZEPH, yeah, Zephyr Protocol. I haven't started mining it yet. Don't know much about it. It recently had a pump, which was quite a big pump for it. Looks like it's come back down a little bit. Well, what's interesting is I'm going to be curious to see how different it is from Luna and UST because it has its own stablecoin, like
Ah,
tied to the underlying token, right? I think it has 28 million, if I remember right, total supply, but it has a tail emissions. So tail emissions that continue rewarding those who are mining.
okay.
Right now, I think there's only 2 million in circulation. I don't. There's some privacy aspects tied to it, and I'm not sure where the privacy aspects are tied to. I believe the privacy aspect is actually tied to the stablecoin that it issues. So there's you get the token, you can lock it up. It has to be over collateralized by quite a bit, and with it being over collateralized, you can take out their stablecoin, and then their stablecoin has a privacy feature, which is supported by their protocol, from my understanding. So
Okay.
I don't know.
There's another stable that I'm looking at. Uh, VBUSD.
VB USD.
Or USDV. I think it's
Okay.
USDV. Um, uh, sort of on the idea. The founder is really interested and intrigued by Arthur Hayes,
Okay.
and part of it is taking both long positions. So when you mint it, what you're minting it with ends up taking both, I think, a short and long position on GMX
Oh, nice.
in different spots.
To stabilize itself.
Yeah. So yeah.
Huh. Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. That's what, and is it on Arbitrum, or where's that at?
Yeah, it's on Arbitrum.
And it's USDV. What's the protocol or the site for that one?
So it's they're building. He's built it out himself, and
Who built it? Who built it? Arthur Hayes?
no, this guy named Greg.
Okay.
Yeah, let me go see real quick. USDV, right? No.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't say that I'm much of an actual physical miner with video cards and whatnot.
Yeah.
The only thing that drew my interest is that the Zephyr coin apparently is ASIC resistant, so they're trying to keep it so that way people can actually mine it with a computer and whatnot.
That would be so. Yeah, this is VBUSD.
VBUSD. Okay.
Yeah, VBUSD. I will. I'll send you the Telegram link because I know how much you love that. How much you love Telegram.
Oh yeah, dude, totally. Where all the scams happen.
Yeah. Boom. So yeah, I sent you Space Operator, and I sent you the VBUSD.
Okay.
It's still a small group as he's slowly trying to build this out and make sure it works.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
but he
sure.
wanted to make a truly decentralized dollar.
Yeah, it's a delta neutral position
Yep.
basically that he's
Yep.
trying to create a dollar with. Interesting. So what are you having to put into it in order to mint those dollars?
Either USD, whatever USDC,
Okay.
which then goes into GMX.
Okay. Can you feed it with anything else like ETH or
I
whatever other
think
asset GMX uses?
I think so, but I don't. I would have to check.
Okay. Because my biggest concern is I really don't like creating stable coins with other stable coins.
Yeah.
I think that kind of creates a risk and it's kind of redundant. Like, why do I want to have another stable coin if I already have USDC?
Yeah. I see. Well, so part of that, like, if you don't, if let's say token X equals token Y,
Yeah.
token X has some features you don't like about it.
Yeah, but still, so if a person is concerned about this, centralization of USDC and freezing wallets, and if you're a bad actor, it would be even worse if all of a sudden they froze the whole entire vault or trove that backed up the other asset, right?
Yeah.
And so I would rather not even deal with that or have that potential risk at all. and it would be more better to me. It would be better to have a Bitcoin position, right, in a delta neutral position, as you're telling, one position going one long, going short, and then minting a stable coin off of that neutral delta neutral
Yeah.
Bitcoin
So
position.
this earn and built-in yield from ETH, Lido, and GMX V2.
Huh.
So yeah, crypto native stable coin. So yeah.
We will eventually figure this all out, and this space will revolutionize the world.
Yes.
So that's the awesome part of it. There's actually some really smart people, some
Yeah.
geniuses out there playing with all this stuff. You know,
Yeah.
they say in the last 100 years, because of how large the population is, right? There's more scientists in the last 100 years than there have been over the last like couple thousand, right?
Yeah. I think I saw something that was even deeper than that, that there's been more scientists in the last 50 years than in the
Yeah.
last 5,000, you know?
Right? Yeah, exactly. And so like the exponential growth of technology and innovation is so huge because of that, which is pretty awesome.
But then, you know, at the same time, you have to worry, well, is that guy
Is that good?
that is measuring how flat the earth is, that calls himself a scientist, really a scientist?
True. True.
And I don't mean any offense to anyone who thinks the earth is flat. I just think you're wrong.
Well, it's all right until somebody else comes and proves it otherwise, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. You know,
The nice thing is if
somehow.
we have, as long
Yeah.
as we have people to ask those questions and test it. The hard part that we don't want to get to is to a point where we have a whole bunch of scientists that agree and they all just make the assumption because nobody else has actually gone out and tested it.
Yeah. Yep. No, I sometimes get sucked into watching YouTube shorts after I watch like a couple crypto shows, you know, and
Yeah.
I just, as I like to say, after about 10 to 15 videos of like liking or disliking these shorts, you know, the algorithm takes me into left field. And I like to say, start learning giraffe. You know, learning how to speak giraffe is my code for like, I don't know where the heck I am. I don't know what I'm trying to, what YouTube is trying to show me now. But I got into a the earth is flat video or something like that, and how, you know, you can't, you know, why are you banned by treaty from going below the 60th parallel or something like that? You know, I'm like, because
There's some interesting arguments.
You know, there's some arguments that you're like, yeah, okay, cool. But yeah, no. I don't know.
Yeah, I actually have a good friend who's a flat earther. So
I love that.
It's always interesting conversation.
I don't think I've actually personally met, and if I have, they haven't said so. You know.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's interesting.
So
I don't know. I think his dad might have been convinced in flat Earth, and his dad was in communication for the military at one point. So it's interesting to hear. I've actually talked to some other guys who did some satellite stuff, and they were actually flat earthers too. So when you start talking to satellite people who say they're flat earthers, it starts to make you wonder.
Oof, yeah.
During wait a second.
During
Satellites and thinking it's flat.
During Tech Week here in New York, I was supposed to go to an event with Old Crows, and Old Crows are electromagnetic warfare techs, you know, or
Okay.
high velocity non-explosive, you know, devices and stuff like that. You know, either they use, you know, all ex-military or DoD that have and the, you know, they're all into electronic magnetic warfare type of countermeasure and measure type of stuff. And I was really looking forward to going to that. Unfortunately, that event started at like 10 o'clock at night and then went till like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I was like, yep, nope, I'm an old man. I'm going to sit on this bed for a second. And next thing I know, I wake up and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that happens when you get older. So,
Yeah.
hey, I have to give you props for the hex hat and wearing that with how far hexes dropped.
Hey, I have so many hats to choose from. This is one of my favorite ones just because it's that flat brim, you know.
Gotcha.
And I got this at PulseCon last year. You know, that was sort of my introduction to Hex. I knew about Hex. I didn't partake in Hex, but when I learned about Icosa and Hedron, that tech, I was like, that's cool.
Well,
Yeah.
I got to admit, I did pick up some pulse.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, dude,
so,
I had so much fun ratio trading when Pulse Chain went live. Because all of those honeypots were on Pulse Chain, and they had all that ETH locked and stuff, or all the scam tokens that had been launched the day before, you know, that hadn't been drained yet. And I turned 100 PLS into like 200,000. That was a fun day.
nice, yeah.
You
Yeah,
know.
I didn't get to it till later, just because I didn't have enough pulse in my wallet, and it was kind of a happenstance. But you know, I think about a couple of weeks ago, I went through and I had some forked WBTC sitting in a wallet, right? And a buddy dropped me some pulse to be enough to do a transaction, because at first you couldn't really, you had to spend a couple of thousand, I think, pulse to get a transaction done.
Yeah.
So eventually I got enough, and I dumped some WBTC and picked up some pulse, some forked WBTC, which, you know, I think that didn't have much value, but at least it picked up something. So it
Yeah.
was nice.
I'm doing a couple different things in the Pulse ecosystem, with like 9-inch, and you know, because that's just degeneracy at its best.
Is
You
that
know,
a fork of 1 inch?
yeah, they're making fun of that, but then their rewards token, their emission token, is called BBC.
Nice. Okay.
Big
Yeah, I
bonus
think
coin.
I'm
Big
I'm in a
bonus
few
coin.
things.
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah, I'm just holding it just to see
Yeah,
what happens with it. I think a lot of it will you know, come back to the founder and see what ends up happening.
yeah.
So,
I stake and I earn, you know, on that, you know, in the V2 pools and the one-sided liquidity.
gotcha. Hey, my
So,
battery's about to die. I'm getting really low, so I'm gonna
all right. Yeah,
part ways.
we've been going for almost 2 hours now, so it has been a
Cool.
good show. It
Almost
has
10
been,
minutes till 2.
yeah. You know, let's wrap this up. So you've been on the show before, you know how this goes. Closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Stay safe. Keep your crypto, and don't lose it to Ponzi's.
Don't lose it to Ponzi's, but also be willing to try something out new.
Yeah, be willing to gamble. You don't make money unless you take some risk in life. But
Yeah.
make sure you don't take a risk that you can't afford to lose.
Yep. Yeah. You know, and as always, my words of wisdom are: a closed mouth cannot be fed, and you cannot feed a closed mouth. Meaning, if no one knows you're looking for opportunity, opportunity can never come a knocking. If opportunity does come a knocking and no one answers, it's going to keep on walking. And with that, I want to thank everyone on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, LinkedIn, Kick, Rumble, and Telegram, and Unlonely for joining us tonight. We've had a bunch of viewers across all the channels, which has been really cool. A bunch of people in Twitter space joining us as well. Thank you. D, it has been a great time. This is where we end in the greatest way possible with the best, worst joke on the face of the planet. You ready for it? Knock, knock.
Go for it again.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?